When I was 17, I took my first job as a caretaker and house sitter. I had to take care of an elderly woman, Mrs. Waters, who was super rich, and I had to look after her mansion home. My job was to cook for her, do her laundry, get her everything she needed, take her on walks in the garden, clean the house, and look after the house when she was traveling abroad for her treatments. I used to live there, and without a family of my own, I felt like it was the perfect job for me. Mrs. Waters, on the other hand, did have family, a lot of them, but no one ever came to visit her, not on her birthdays or any other occasions, at least not in the 2 years I worked there. But before we move on, like this video, hit that subscribe button, and activate the notification bell, and you'll find out who has a crush on you soon. Trust me, it works. For her sake, I would even make invitation cards and send them out, but they would not show up. I appreciate what you're doing, child, but they would not come. They haven't even called for years, she would say, trying to console me, but I knew she was hurt inside. However, even though no one from her family ever came to meet her, there was one member who was an exception, her grandson. His name was Casper, and he was also super rich like his grandma and had no parents like me. In fact, he had become a millionaire at just 20 from the incomes of his own business. He was also a bit handsome, but too proud of a guy to even say hi to me once in all the times he visited. I don't know why he never talked to me, so I made an assumption that it may be because of the difference in our status. He was a millionaire, and I was just a poor caretaker after all. He was nothing like his grandmother, who was the sweetest. She always treated me better than anyone had ever treated me in life. Very respectfully, yet loving no matter how she was feeling. I knew that she would feel lonely a lot of times, and I felt really bad about it. So I tried my best to be the best company and make her happy when I was taking care of her. And it wasn't that hard, honestly. She was happy while feeding the birds, watering the plants, or when we played chess by the fireplace, so it was an easy task. But she was getting older day by day, and because of that, she was falling sick more often. I was just a caretaker and not a nurse, so she had to make visits and stays at the hospital more often. She could have easily hired an in-house nurse, but she didn't want to do that because that meant there would be no more need for me. "I like having you around," she said, whenever I brought up the topic. But then one day something unexpected happened. Her family showed up out of nowhere without any calls or invitations. Mrs. Waters' son, Casper's uncle, then fired me from my job while she was admitted to the hospital. "You're of no use. You're not even a nurse. We're going to live here with her, so you can go your own way," he said, and made me leave so fast that I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to Mrs. Waters. Her son and his wife and children were so mean. It was sad, but I was just a worker, and there was nothing I could do about it as they were her family, so I packed my bags and went off. After that, my life became really different. I got an apartment from the generous salary I had saved from the time I worked at Mrs. Waters. I took a day job and joined a college for the evening. No matter how busy I was, I missed Mrs. Waters a lot of the time. She was, after all, a mother figure to me, which I had never had since I grew up in an orphanage. I even called the house a couple of times to check up on her, but her mean son and daughter-in-law would never let me talk to her or give me any information on her health. One day, however, when I called, she was the one to pick up. "Mrs. Waters, it's Athena," I said in an excited tone as I was happy to finally be able to talk to her. "I know your voice, child," she said, and pretended like she was happy and healthy, but I knew from her voice that she was weak and in pain. However, she did not admit it to me because she knew I could do nothing about it. Like that, we talked for half an hour, and I told her all that was going on in my life from the college to my job, and she was very happy for me. But after that, it was time to say goodbye, and I literally cried while hanging up the phone. Also, it was the last time I ever talked to her. I felt a little better after talking to her, and was able to focus on my work and studies better than before in the next few days. But after that, something so shocking happened in my life that my life turned upside down. It was one of the normal days as usual, and I had just finished my shift at work. I had overworked that day, and because of that, I was running a little late for my classes. So I decided to take a shortcut through a silent, abandoned alley that day, and not take my regular path. It was a scary place even in the daytime, so I never took the path ever, but that day, I had no choice. So I walked very fast as I was walking through there, and sooner than I had thought, I got closer to the end of the alley. I felt such a relief that I was going to be out of there soon, but I later realized that I decided to feel relieved a little bit too soon because that changed in no time. When I finally got out of the alley, a masked man was waiting for me out there, with his van blocking my way of escape. As soon as he saw me, he pushed me inside the van, grabbed me, taped my mouth, and tied my legs and hands. His grip was so strong that I couldn't do anything about it, and it all happened so quickly that I didn't even get a chance to scream for help. And even if I had screamed, it wouldn't have made a difference, as there was not even a single person out there. After he was done tying me up, he went in front of the van and started driving. Meanwhile, I was trying and struggling to get out of the ropes and the tape. "Stop struggling. It's not going to come off," the man said, but I was not going to stop. I kept on moving and struggling, but after a while, I got tired and fell asleep right there. I woke up sometime later to find myself out of the van. However, the place I was at was not the one I recognized. It was strange, but it was not a creepy place where kidnappers take people as we see in movies. It was a good room with a nicely made bed, a table with a water bottle on it, a sofa, and a chair to which I was tied. Yes, my hands and legs were still tied, but my mouth was not taped like before. So I took my chance and started screaming for help. But then the masked kidnapper entered the room. "Would you shut up?" he said, and started taking off his mask. You're not going to get away with this," I screamed at him, but then I couldn't say a word when he was done taking off the mask. The person behind the mask, or more importantly, the one who kidnapped me, was none other than Casper the Millionaire, Mrs. Waters' grandson. I instantly started wondering why he had kidnapped me. He's a millionaire, and I'm just a poor girl. Getting ransom cannot be the reason, I thought. Then my thoughts went to a Korean drama that I had watched the night before, where the things that were happening to me at the moment had happened. The romantic cheesy stuff, like how the girl gets kidnapped by the millionaire and they fall in love. After that, my thoughts shifted to how handsome Casper was and how good his hair looked, and that I was no longer scared about being kidnapped. As I came back to reality from my thoughts, I realized that Casper had been talking to me all that time, but I hadn't heard a single word. "Sorry, what were you saying?" I said, because he stopped speaking just as I started listening. "I said, stop screaming and trust me," he replied, and that was all he said that day, and for the next few days I was there. He only came into the room a few times in the day to give me food and water and books to read, and the books he gave me were the ones related to classes I was taking in college. I was so glad that he had an interest in the things about my life and was crushing on him more and more every day, and I always wondered what he must think about me, but he never talked. Especially not when I asked him answers for why he had kidnapped me and had me chained. One day he came into the room with some food and surprisingly unchained me. "I'm going outside. You're safe inside, so just stay in until I return," he said in a serious tone and went off. After he went out, I started overthinking about the things he had said just before leaving. What did he mean by "you're safe inside"? I thought, and also about the worst possible scenarios, but I stayed in as he had asked me to. However, hours after hours passed, and there was no sign of him returning, so I started getting worried. I was scared for him since he didn't return so long, so I decided to go out to find him. I got out of the room and the house I was in, to find myself in a town I didn't recognize, but I saw a diner nearby, so I went in there to see if anyone would lend me their phone to use. But when I went in, I completely forgot about the phone, as something else caught my attention. A big TV right in front of the counter. However, it wasn't the size of the TV that got my attention. It was what was going on in it. There was a picture of me on the news, and the story was going on, so I asked the woman there to turn up the volume. And what I found out next was both extremely heartbreaking and shocking. The heartbreaking part about the thing I found out was that Mrs. Waters had passed away a few weeks back, right about the time I was kidnapped by the millionaire. And then came the shocking part. I found out that Mrs. Waters had left half of her multi-million fortune to me in her will, a quarter to Casper, and the remaining to the charity. "That's not just it," someone said from behind. I turned around to see that it was Casper. "After finding out that Grandma had left her fortune to you, I overheard my uncle and aunt conspiring to kidnap you, take the money, and make you disappear from the face of the earth," he explained. He also told me that he informed the police about it before anything could happen, and kidnapped me instead to keep me safe and then gathered evidence against them. And so the news was about the family who was conspiring against me getting arrested. "I am sorry it had to be like this, and I had to kidnap you," he said, being apologetic. I was so happy thinking about how he was keeping me safe all that time, and I was even blushing a little bit. "Well, you didn't listen to me for once about staying in," he said again, and smiled at me. I smiled back and got a little shy, realizing how it was the most he had ever talked to me at once. "Anyway, you're safe now and rich, so you're free to do whatever you want," he added. And suddenly I felt like it was then or never, so I just said it out loud. "I want to go out with you." Trust me, it was the most courageous thing I had ever done. He smiled and told me that he had always wanted to do that. So just like that, all of our problems were solved. and our lives were easy, and Casper and I began dating. Thanks for watching. How did you meet your crush? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other videos on the channel.